Hello and welcome. With so many options available in today's financial services industry, how do investors choose an advisor who will work in their best interests? One key factor to consider is the advisor's obligation to a fiduciary or suitability standard. In this month's on-demand webinar, OJM Group Wealth Advisor Adam Braunscheidel, CFP, outlines the fundamental differences between a fiduciary standard and a suitability standard as applied to financial advisors. He discusses how these differences can affect the financial advice you receive and provides questions you should ask your current or prospective advisors. If you find this information helpful, we would encourage you to check out one of our books, including our newest book, Wealth Management Made Simple. Topics include investment terminology, market history, tips for choosing an advisor, and more. At the end of the webinar, we'll discuss how you can get a free ebook download or hard copy of Wealth Management Made Simple or any of our other books.
So jumping into our topic of discussion today, I wanted to start with what I think is one of the most important slides really in the overall conversation. I know it's pretty simple. You have trust and transparency, and I think the more transparent any relationship is, even outside of the investment world, I think the more trust you have. Just think about your own personal relationships, the people that you trust the most. They're probably the most open, honest, transparent with you. Trust is number one. I always use the example, I think, even if you're dealing with the smartest person in the world, but you don't fully trust them, then I think that relationship is set up to fail. In our world, I think the more transparent, the more open and honest you are, the stronger the underlying relationship tends to be. You truly want an advisor that is sitting on the same side of the table as you. I think if you look at nearly all the reasons why relationships fail, come back to this fundamental lack of loyalty, honest communication, and mutuality. The common theme, I think, which underlines these reasons is the lack or loss of trust. You know, in our world, I think incentives do drive behavior, even if you don't consciously acknowledge those. There can be potential conflicts of interest that can arise, and again, not only in an advisory client relationship, but just in life in general. And mistrust can really manifest in a wide variety of ways, whether that's infidelity within a relationship, dishonesty in the professional realm. You know, trust is imperative to the success of close relationships. I think really you want an advisor, when it comes down to it, you want an advisor that is willing to be vulnerable. This means admitting his or her mistakes and doing the right thing regardless of the personal outcome. I think it's an important concept to not always have an advisor that just says yes. One of my more challenging aspects of what I do in the advisory world is telling the client no. You really do need someone that in your corner that is going to relay the harsh realities of the investment world and isn't going to sugarcoat everything. This allows you to be prepared for when things can and ultimately do go wrong. So moving on, let's just touch real briefly on the difference between these two standards. You have the fiduciary and the suitability standards. And again, I think this simple graphic really encompasses the points we're trying to make here throughout this presentation. On the left circle, you have the fiduciary standard. On the right circle, you have the suitability standard. I think the key here for the fiduciary standard is you see the client is inside. They are the most important part of the relationship. You see there on the right bullet, a fiduciary has a fundamental obligation to provide suitable investment advice and always act in the client's best interest. On the other hand, you have this product-oriented suitability standard where that advisor, that broker does not necessarily need to act in the best interest of the underlying client. Instead, their actions must only be quote unquote suitable for the client. And there are certain metrics that encompass what is suitable or what isn't for certain clients. I think one of the key distinctions we make here, again, we talked about trust and loyalty and how important that is that a broker's or an advisor's under the suitability standard, their duty is to the broker-dealer, the company that he or she works for, and not necessarily the client served. To me, if I were sitting on the client side of the equation, that would be a massive deal breaker. Again, because I think everything is rooted in trust. I alluded to it at the start of the presentation, but we have seen some, this was really one of President Obama's key initiatives back in 2016, kind of on his way out, was implementing this fiduciary standard. So what's really being done to help circumvent this potential dangerous behavior or these potential conflicts that can exist? I mentioned Obama and it was actually in early 2015, he said, "Today I'm calling on the Department of Labor to update the rules and requirements that retirement advisors put the best interests of their clients above their own personal financial interests." He said it's a very simple principle. If you want to give investment advice, financial advice, you've got to put your client's interests first. So fast forward over a year later, the DOL actually proposed its new regulations in April of 2016. This really become known what is the fiduciary standard. The rule, though, wouldn't be, it was, and really the rule, once it was passed, gave a certain amount of time for advisors to get up to speed, get up to compliance with those regulations. Well, in early 2017 of last year, a bill was actually introduced by Joe Wilson of South Carolina to delay the actual start of the fiduciary rule for 2 years beyond what it was already come set to be in place. And he said, I quote, "The Department of Labor's fiduciary rules is one of the most costly, burdensome regulations to come from the Obama administration. Rather than making retirement advice and financial stability more accessible for American families, they have disrupted the client-fiduciary relationship, increased costs, and limited access. The legislation will delay the implementation of this job-destroying rule, giving Congress and President Donald Trump adequate time to reevaluate this harmful regulation." It actually was taken a step further. Most recently, in the summer of this year, the Fifth Circuit Court, which covers Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, ruled that the Department of Labor overreached by requiring brokers and others handling investors' retirement savings to act in clients' best interests. The rule is unreasonable. The decision read, "With the court finding fault in the department's broadening of what it is deemed financial advice and who gives it, among other reasons." To me, as someone who already sits on the advisory world, it's interesting how hard and how much money these firms spent to fight this rule. To me, it's a very simple concept. Why would every client or why would every advisor not want to place his or her client's interests ahead of their own? And I think it goes back to what drives the relationship. There's a financial incentive for these firms not to entertain that side of the world. And I'm not going to necessarily name specific companies, but I think we've seen plenty of companies come out in the press and really mishandle those clients' relationships in a multitude of ways. And to me, this is really unfortunate. And I think it's something that, quite frankly, is kind of a black eye for our industry. So how do you recognize which type of firm you work with? Because I think this is extremely important. And in the investment world, there's a lot of investment terminology that can become murky, because I don't think people fully understand if it applies to them, if it doesn't. There are many individuals who may label themselves as an advisor, yet they don't necessarily adhere to this fiduciary standards model. So how can you identify that your advisor is who he or she is saying they are? Well, here's a few items of note to help delineate the two models. I think under the advisory model, individuals are advice-driven. They adhere to the fiduciary standard. They're transparent, open, honest about fees in all capacity. A lot of times these individuals are registered investment advisors. Third-party custodianship. So here at OJM Group, we manage money. We custody primarily with Charles Schwab. We don't have a bank vault here at OJM Group where clients are putting their investment dollars. Their dollars are at Charles Schwab. We don't have any proprietary products. OJM Group doesn't have any internal mutual funds that I would be swayed to shift clients into that I may be compensated more on. We have a fee-based compensation model. So whether I put a client in XYZ fund or ABC fund, I'm paid based on the underlying assets in their portfolios. The broker model on the other side is almost the exact opposite of everything I just said. They have transaction-based commissions. They have the suitability standards where, hey, if your net worth and income hits a certain standard, they can really, I'll use this bluntly, sell you an investment product because you hit those metrics. It's certain disclosures. They may call themselves an investment or a financial advisor, but they're really just cloaked as a broker. They have in-house custody. They have proprietary products to sell you. These are some of the things you want to be on the watch for. Here's just, again, some of those different types of advisors. You have brokers, banks, insurance agents, fee-only financial advisors, automated investment management. Think about the robo-advisors, registered investment advisors, and then really strategy or sleeve advisors such as hedge funds, private equity. I'm going to primarily focus on brokers versus RIAs. Brokers are primarily regulated by FINRA, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, under the standards that require them to make suitable recommendations to their clients. I think the key distinction in terms of loyalty is also important. I mentioned it before, but their loyalty is to the company they work for, not necessarily the client served. Most brokers today have a very convoluted fee structure. I think in a world or a period where clients and really the public's demanding more transparency, whether it be with technology that we use or even the folks that are managing our money, you want transparency, you want lower cost options. In the brokerage world, you'll see these upfront sales loads on mutual funds. You'll see trading commissions, as well as many other account servicing fees. On the other hand, you have the RIA. I think these firms, again, like I said, registered with the SEC, they must place the client's interest ahead of his or her own at all times, no questions asked. I think most RIAs aren't tied to any family or fund or investment product. So really whether you need, it goes beyond just the investment landscape. So whether you need help with retirement planning, a tax situation, estate planning, managing assets in multiple places, I think independent advisors have the freedom to choose from a wide range of options to tailor their advice based on what's best for you. RIAs can really help investors address the variety of complex investment needs that arise when you accumulate significant wealth. While these services can vary from firm to firm, I think most RIAs really put themselves out there as the financial quarterback or the general manager of your overall team or your family. And their focus is really based on this holistic wealth planning. Here are 5 questions that I just wanted to throw out there that I think our teams really come up with that can help you as an investor identify what type of advisor that you're working with. I'm not going to go through all these. You can kind of read through these here at your leisure, but one of the big ones I like to point out is number 5. Does the advisor's firm engage in investment banking activities? We see this really manifest itself on the lending side of the world. Certainly, I could give you examples back in 08, 09, where you had a company that put itself out there on the client side, but also on the back side had their own in-house trading platform that was basically doing the opposite of what they were recommending to their clients on the front side. So really, for me, this is a dangerous relationship to ascertain. So you really want to focus on, hey, my advisor might not be necessarily getting compensated on individual proprietary mutual funds, but are they getting compensated on my lending, that relationship that I have with them? What are all the ways that advisor, that firm, are getting compensated based on the money that I have with them? I think a key concept here to really focus on is that a true advisor, a true fiduciary advisor, doesn't exist strictly to pick the best stock, mutual fund, or ETF, or really to forecast economic conditions and make tactical decisions in a portfolio. While I acknowledge those are important components, an advisor really should act as a buffer who puts space between you and your investments to take some of the emotionality out of your decisions. The bottom line is the emotional connection between you and your money affects your decisions. Your savings represents security, stability, and your goals. It's more than wealth, it's your future. With all of this on the line, it's really virtually impossible for you to make consistently rational investment decisions over the course of your investment life. That's the key reason why you hire an investment advisor. We constantly tell our clients, hey, listen, technology's been great for the investment world because fees have come down substantially. And it's allowed you now to access a global investment world in a pretty insignificant, from a cost perspective, a cheap way. So what your advisor really does, they need to bring value to the table in areas outside of just investment management. Here's some of the things that I think it's important that your relationship incorporates: asset protection planning, tax planning, insurance planning, education planning, estate planning, financial modeling, retirement projections, etc. I think I recently read an article by Mark Schaaf Jr. who said, I think even as the Labor Department's fiduciary rule teeters on the edge of demise, its legacy is going to continue to profoundly influence how investment advice is delivered. For us, as an RIA fiduciary, we love that this standard got rejected because it's something that we can separate ourselves from those other folks. I do think the DOL fiduciary rule really made this discussion mainstream. It brought it into the limelight. You can't unring that bell, as Michael Kitches of Pinnacle Advisory Group was quoted as saying. I think a lot of clients are looking to have that true financial quarterback where they're a resource they can use for solid advice on their overall financial picture. A good RIA will speak to the client in terms of his or her overall goals and objectives and periodically review those in regular intervals with that client, because again, life is dynamic. Things are going to change as we grow and get older. Thanks for watching, and talk to you soon.
OJM is a multidisciplinary wealth management firm, and we've worked with over 1,000 clients throughout the country. We work in 3 different divisions for our clients: investment management, consulting, and insurance benefits. We would welcome the opportunity to speak with you about how we might be able to bring value to your wealth planning. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, our principals have authored several books, all of which are available to webinar viewers at no charge. You can get a free hard copy or ebook download for Kindle or iPad by texting OJM Web to 555-888. You can also visit ojmbookstore.com and enter the code OJMWeb at checkout. In addition to a free book, OJM Group also offers webinar viewers a complimentary consultation where we can answer your questions and see if our firm might be a good fit for your situation. Visit ojmgroup.com or call 877-656-4362 to schedule your free consultation. Enjoy the free copies of our books, and we hope to have the opportunity to speak with you. Thanks for watching.